Hello again, welcome. My name is Deb. Today we are going to be looking at absolute cell reference in Excel and a couple of other things like referencing worksheets and also referencing workbook, named ranges, and conditional formatting. Right, so we will start from absolute cell reference. And here I have two tables by my right. You can see these two tables. And in the first table, I have a task to add. Understand? And to add, we have done things like that in our creating formula addition. So here we are going to just add this using what we already know, selecting the cell plus 2, click on this, enter, then we drag down. All right, so everything that happened in this formula is called cell referencing. And by default, Excel uses relative cell referencing. Alright, so relative cell referencing means that whenever you create a formula and you drag that formula down, it moves down to give you the result of whatever you have in other cells below. Right, but in this case, we are going to see what absolute cell referencing mean. In absolute cell referencing, what you're actually doing is you are using a particular cell to create a formula that works for other cells. What do I mean by that? We want to use this particular cell to multiply the value we have here. All right, so in that case, we'll just select the first cell, enter our equal sign, select this cell, then shift it to add our multiplication sign, select this cell, click enter. All right, now when I click enter and drag down, look at what happened. I didn't get the correct answer, right? Because what Excel did was moving down this formula we have here. So the first one is, so P13 times R11, all right? The second one, the second one is P14, then R12. So Excel is moving down this formula to multiply whatever we have below here to the second cell here, the third cell we have here to whatever we have here. All right, consider the third cell to whatever we have here. This is not what we want to do. What we want to do is absolute cell reference. We just want to tell Excel to multiply this value here with the single value in this cell, which is 5, right? Multiply this value with this single cell. Do not move down to other cells below it, right? So that is why we are having 0 here, because Excel was moving down this formula to say 5 times empty cell, and an empty cell is 0. So 5 times 0 is 0. The same thing happened there. Now, to create an absolute cell referencing, all you need to do is come to that place where you created the formula for the first time, double click, or you can also go to the formula bar. You can also go to the formula bar and do the same thing. All right, so let's stay here and double click. Then on your keyboard, you press F4. Now, what F4 did was adding dollar sign before the column and also before the row coordinate, right? So this is the simplest way to do it. So you click enter, then when I drag this formula down, you will see I will have the right result. So what has happened is Excel has said use this cell to multiply whatever we have here. Do not move down. So we have 5 times 5, which is 25, 7 times 5, which is 35. You see, the formula was no longer moving down. So this is called absolute cell referencing. And here we can see that absolute cell referencing is a cell reference in which the column and row coordinate stays constant while copying a formula down from one cell to the other cell. And to do this, you just need a dollar sign before the coordinates to correct them, you understand? That is it. I give an example, but in this case, it is just to say, let me change this to, because the cell we actually use at absolute cell reference is QR11. So I'm just going to change this to R. Instead of this, I'm going to have 1. So R11. So this is actually what we did here. And this is called absolute cell reference. We're going to use this absolute cell referencing knowledge to find this, populate this table we have here. The first thing we have here is salary, bonus, and new salary. So this is an employee table, and in this employees table we have the quantity of goods they have sold, and we want to find their salary. And we have this small tiny table here that says profit per item sold is $70. So if someone sold 20 quantities, we are just going to multiply 20 quantities by 70. And you also know that we don't want the formula to move down. So we're going to apply an absolute cell referencing in our formula. So we'll start by entering our equal sign to the first cell. We'll select this cell, then we multiply, that place our times, then select this cell, right? Now we're going to add our absolute cell reference by clicking on F4. Once we're done selecting that cell that we want to make an absolute cell referencing, all right, so we'll click on F4 and we click enter. So in this case, I am going to double click to fill down. All right, so whenever if I click on the second one, you will see that it is always multiplying whichever value we have in this quantity column with this first cell we have here. All right, so this is called absolute cell referencing. We're going to use that for the second to find the bonuses, right? So to find the bonuses, simply their salary, then multiply it by the bonus, right? So I think that is how to find bonus. So I'm going to say whatever they sold times 5, and to enter times, just press shift 8 on your keyboard, right? So I'm going to click on the bonus. Remember, we're going to make it an absolute cell reference. Also, another way to do this, instead of pressing the F4 key on your keyboard, you can just also come to the first, you know, after your times, come to the column. Before the column, shift 4, that is, this will enter the dollar sign. Before the row coordinate, shift 4 2. Right, but this is not an easier method, right? Easier method is just when you're done selecting the cell, click on F4 key on your keyboard, and that is it, right? So when I click enter, I still have the same result, and I will copy down. Right, now that we have copied down, we have used absolute cell references to populate these two columns. In this next column, we are supposed to find their new salary. And their new salary is going to be the salary plus the bonus, right? So we're going to select the first cell, enter our equal sign. This time around, we're going to use addition, right? So we can actually use the sum function that we've learned to also do this. Let me use some function because we have learned some function in this episode or in this training. So I'm going to select this. I can place my comma. I'll select this cover. I'll click enter. So this is their new salary, and I'm going to drag down or double click. All right. So this is absolute cell referencing lecture. I do hope you enjoyed this video.